Welcome back to Kleppers Corner Today in History, the only show where we look at dates on the calendar and say, this feels like too much for one day. And December 17th overhears that and says, hold my century. Because this date has everything. The moment humans left the ground. The moment America became a country in someone else's eyes. A buried cosmic calendar pulled out from under a plaza. A World War II disaster reel. A liberator dying of exhaustion. A dictator dying on a train, a fruit seller changing the Middle East, and a yellow cartoon family debuting with a Christmas episode where the miracle is adopting a greyhound. December 17th isn't a day. It's a historical Costco. You walk in for one thing and leave with 600 years of geopolitical bulk items. So let's unwrap December 17th and see what humanity was up to, besides apparently choosing chaos. Segment 1. The Wright brothers take flight. December 17th, 1903. Kitty Hawk, sand, wind. Two brothers who looked like they'd arrest you for riding your bicycle too fast in a church parking lot. And the first powered flight. The Wright brothers launch a 605-pound canvas-covered toothpick with a 12-horsepower engine that Charlie Taylor built literally because they couldn't find an engine light enough. Their secret? Bicycle parts, muslin fabric, and vibes. This was before the FAA existed, so technically any man with enough wood and confidence could attempt liftoff. The Flyers' first flight lasted 12 seconds. 12 seconds. Today, if your Wi-Fi cuts out for 12 seconds, you file a formal grievance with your internet provider. But in 1903, humanity collectively went, "We're gods now." And then, immediately after the fourth flight, a gust of wind flipped the thing like a pancake at a diner with a short-order cook who hates his job. It never flew again. And yet, that 1 minute of airtime changed global transportation, global warfare, and the ratio of reclining airplane seats to passenger rage. December 17th, the day humans decided gravity was optional. Segment 2. France finally says, okay, fine, you're a country. December 17th, 1777. Benjamin Franklin, Silas Deane, and Arthur Lee walk into a French diplomatic meeting, which sounds like the start of a joke, but it's actually America's origin story. The French had been secretly helping the American rebels for years, because if there's anything France loves more than pastries, it's watching Britain lose things. But they held off on publicly recognizing the new United States, because admitting you're backing a rebellion is like liking your ex's breakup post. You don't do it until you're sure the rebound is real. Then Saratoga happens, and suddenly France goes, oh, these scrappy colonials can actually win? So on December 17th, Vergennes formally acknowledges the American commissioners, which is diplomatic speak for, okay, we're dating now. This single move turns the revolution from local colonial dispute to global cage match, with Britain soon fighting France, Spain, and the Netherlands. America gets legitimacy, naval support, and someone to pick up the tab. It's like the moment a garage band gets a record deal. Suddenly, the neighbors have to take the noise seriously. Segment 3. The Aztec Sunstone rises again. December 17th, 1790. Mexico City workers repaving the Plaza Mayor whack their shovels into something big. And instead of saying, let's go around it, they do the smart thing. Dig up a 24.5-ton basalt cosmic calendar the size of a dining room table for giants. The Aztec Sunstone emerges after more than 250 years underground, buried by colonial authorities, who apparently thought, if we put a giant cosmic clock face down, people will forget it exists. Spoiler, they did not. Scholars race in, see the deity face with the flint tongue, the 5 cosmic eras, the fire serpents, and go, oh wow, these people weren't just astronomers. They were astronomers with graphic design skills. The stone becomes a foundational symbol of Mexican identity, proving that sometimes the most important archaeological discoveries happen because someone tripped over them while doing renovations. Ancient history meets Home Depot. Segment 4. December 17th, 1944. A day of war crimes, hurricanes, and civil rights. December 17th, 1944 is the moment history looked at the calendar and said, let's multitask. Because in one 24-hour span, first in the Ardennes, SS units massacre American POWs at Malmedy, a war crime so immediate and shocking that U.S. troops hardened overnight. December 17th is the historical equivalent of your worst coworker showing up to the holiday party and immediately knocking over the punch bowl. Second, hundreds of miles away, Admiral Halsey's Pacific Fleet sails into Typhoon Cobra, a storm so violent it basically picked up 3 destroyers and said, no. Ships capsize, nearly 800 sailors perish, and the Navy goes, maybe we should learn how weather works. Third, back in the U.S., the government ends mass exclusion of Japanese Americans. A step shy of justice, but a beginning. Public Proclamation number 21 cracks open the gates, while the Supreme Court the next day says, yeah, you definitely can't keep loyal citizens imprisoned because you're nervous. It's a day that reminds us history is not neat. It's chaotic, contradictory, and sometimes everything big happens at once. Segment 5, Bolivar and Kim Jong-il. 2 leaders, same date, very different finales. December 17th contains multitudes. On one hand, Simón Bolívar, exhausted liberator, dies in 1830, believing his dream of a unified South America is slipping away. A man who freed nations leaves the world feeling like he plowed the sea. You know you're in a dark headspace when your final vibes are existential maritime futility. On the other hand, 2011, Kim Jong-il dies on a train. The official North Korean story? He died from overwork. Which, sure, yes, ruling a totalitarian state is exhausting. But I'm not sure anyone keyed him into the concept of a delegation chart. His son, Kim Jong-un, rises instantly, thanks to state media calling him everything but the chosen one born from a shooting star. 2 men, 2 continents, 2 December 17ths. One had a dream of unity. The other had a dream of hereditary missile programs. History doesn't do symmetry. It does irony. Segment 6, Mohamed Bouazizi and the spark heard around the world. December 17th, 2010. Sidi Bouzid, Tunisia. Mohamed Bouazizi, a fruit seller pushed beyond humiliation, sets himself on fire. And in doing so, lights the match that becomes the Arab Spring. Revolutions don't usually begin with world leaders or strategic memos. They begin with someone who's had enough. Bouazizi becomes the symbol of corruption confronted, the voice of millions whose stories never make it to the front page until one day they do. Within weeks, Tunisia erupts. Within months, dictators fall across the region. And within years, the Middle East is transformed, scarred, or reshaped, depending on which border you're looking at. December 17th, a reminder that sometimes the biggest geopolitical shifts start in a marketplace, not a palace. Segment 7, The Simpsons, atomic fission, UFOs, reformations, battles, spacewalks, and hostages. December 17th does it all. December 17th is the Swiss Army knife of dates. 1989, The Simpsons premieres. America meets a cartoon family that looks nothing like your family, except for the part where everybody argues constantly. Somehow, this becomes the longest-running scripted show in prime time, mainly because cartoons don't age and voice actors don't have to do stunts. 1938, Otto Hahn and Fritz Strassmann split the atom, which is science talk for change the next 70 years instantly. Nuclear energy and nuclear weapons, all from scientists poking uranium like, what if? December 17th is basically the origin story for both reactors and existential dread. 1969, Project Blue Book shuts down. The U.S. Air Force officially says, we looked into UFOs and found nothing. And America collectively says, okay, but did you look hard enough? Elsewhere in history, Henry VIII gets excommunicated. because that man absolutely collected excommunications the way people collect sneakers. Ulysses S. Grant issues General Order Number 11, and Lincoln revokes it because Lincoln was very big on the don't do anti-Semitism thing. The Graf Spee scuttles itself in Uruguay to avoid a worse fate. Apollo 17 astronauts performed the last deep space EVA of the century. And in 1996, a hostage crisis in Peru kicks off and lasts longer than most Netflix shows. December 17th is not a date. It's a historical variety pack. In conclusion, December 17th shows us exactly how history works. Not gently, not predictably, and definitely not in moderation. It gives you flight, diplomacy, buried worlds, war crimes, typhoons, liberation, dictatorship, protest, nuclear energy, cartoon families, and a pope excommunicating a king because December apparently likes to multitask at a mythological level. If December 17th were a person, it would be the coworker who volunteers for every committee and then reminds you about it forever. So the next time the date pops up, remember, somewhere in some century, something world-changing, or at least world-tilting, happened today. And in the grand tradition of this show, we will continue to dig it up, dust it off, and ask, why did all of this happen at once?